Shall we begin?
You are now listening to an altogether less fashionable variety of soccer podcast. Broadcasting live from the capital city of Columbus, Ohio. Welcome to
ACES Radio.
I got the new wings with the Zima flavor sauce.
I've given this no thought whatsoever.
Hashtag probably riding cock.
They're in your face. They're a little different. I think it's super cool. I love them. Jamie, ignorant slut.
Hold on to your butts.
Now, here are your hosts.
Not Morgan Hughes. Rest.
John Zadar. And Darby Snarpus.
Hello there, shitlords, edgelords, meslords. You are now listening to episode... Hell, I don't know. Numbers have no meaning anymore. I think this might be episode 150 of ACES Radio. A podcast that is about Columbus Crew soccer, of which there's been very little lately. But since we have joined the COVID Cup here in the past week, we decided we would hop on and record another episode for you to listen to, so lucky you. Joining me tonight after an absence is everybody's favorite podcast producer, Brent Miller. Hello, Brent. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Drabs. How's yourself?
You know, I'm doing all right. We're here. We're settled into the new normal of the world, which is working from home, wearing a mask everywhere we go when we go out in public. We've done a little bit of cautious, socially distant backyard gathering. We did actually watch the first game of the Crew's entry into the COVID Cup using a projector and throwing it up on the side of the garage, and that was the best of a not great situation, getting to hang out with just a couple of people and watch the game. How are things with you? Tell the world where you are and what you've been up to lately.
All right. Things are fairly well, I guess. I have been in Muskogee, Oklahoma since middle of May, I think. So probably ready to get out of here sometime soon, but we'll see.
So this is the job where you're running up and down the lines, licking all the masks clean, correct?
That is absolutely correct, yes. Got to lick the masks to get the COVID off of them so that the doctors can wear clean masks.
So how has, apart from the job, how is life in Muskogee, Oklahoma?
Life in Muskogee, Oklahoma is very boring. Even to the people that are from here, you ask them what there is to do, and they say not much, or they respond with meth, because apparently this is the heart of meth country. But yeah, I guess that's good because it kind of enables me to just not spend a bunch of money on stuff and just rack it up. But been doing a lot of drinking by the swimming pool. So
I mean, you've got a swimming pool. That's at least sweet. I'm just drinking in random places. So
yeah, it's good for a little while until a bunch of people show up, and then you go in because you're not trying to be around 50 people within a little 5-foot walkway,
Sure. Are people not being responsible then when they get to the pool?
I mean, it depends on who's coming down. There are a lot of... It seems like there's one group that's one big family, and they're just they take over the entire pool area when they come down.
So because they're one family, they're oh, we're safe together collectively, ergo fuck everybody else.
Yep, exactly right.
Awesome. All right. Well, as anybody who's listening may have noticed by now, we have no John Zadar today. He's not joining us for the recording, but he did send a message to pass along. So I'm going to read this. You'll have to imagine it in John's voice because I cannot fully convey, the awesomeness and snark that is John Zadar, but I will do my best. So, hey, Aceholes. It's your pal, the Wet Boy. We didn't want my absence to go unaddressed, so I'm having Darby share this short message. Between my lack of interest in the outcome of this tournament and my belief that it is unethical to be holding it in the first place, I've personally decided that I won't be supporting it by watching. Given that, I wouldn't be of much help during a podcast about the team and their games. You guys are tuning in for soccer talk and laughs, which Darby and Brent are capable and committed to providing. If and when a, quote, regular season returns, so too will I. Stay safe and sane till we meet again. So, yeah, basically, if you follow John on Twitter, you probably picked up on his feelings about what's been going on. And I won't add anything, I won't speak in his voice beyond, what I just read. I will say that personally, I completely understand his perspective. This is something that I've thought a lot about and kind of struggled with in the process leading up to these games myself. I am completely opposed to this tournament taking place. I continue to think it's a bad idea, and it's rushed, it's selfish, and it's putting players unnecessarily at risk. But I also realize that at this point it's a done deal, and my personal perspective is I'm supporting the players, I'm supporting the team, rooting for guys who are out there, putting themselves on the line for our behalf. But everybody has a different perspective. They're all completely valid. John's is completely valid, and I support his position, his stance. So for now, it's just going to be me and Brent bringing you your dose of vaguely crew-related entertainment. So that being said, let's go ahead and we'll talk about the tournament a little bit. At this point, I think it's been going on for about a week now, Brent. Is that right? As far as games go, does that sound right?
Let's see, 9 to 5. Yeah, it's been pretty close to a week. I think the first game was actually on the 9th. So 6 days, 7 days, somewhere around there.
Okay. Yeah, we lost FC Dallas before the tournament ever began due to a high number of positive COVID-19 tests, and Nashville also, they dropped out before playing a game also. Is that correct? I don't think they actually got into playing. Yeah.
Correct.
So the league has done some shuffling. A couple other games have been postponed because of inconclusive tests or to give teams more time because they waited until the last minute to come. But it does appear at this point as though things are relatively settled in the bubble down there. So yeah, we're in a world where we're playing a little mini group stage type thing. The games, have you watched any of the other games other than the crew, Brent?
I've been able to turn a few on. Let's see, watched the DC game against, which game was that?
Was that
I don't remember. It was the one where
Philly
Federico
one?
came on, and it was the one where Pipa made his appearance for fucking DC United.
Right. With that beautiful chip.
Yeah, I've watched a little bit of one of the Toronto games. Or was that the same thing? Was that Toronto that they were playing?
Oh, yeah, maybe it was. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, because Toronto had a lead and Pipa came on and erased it.
Right, yeah, that was another LOL TFC game.
Yeah.
Adding to the legend.
Yeah, so I watched that. We've turned a few of them on, though. So.
Yeah, the morning games I've been able to pop a couple on like the side screen as I'm working because I got a couple monitors set up here. So I've had a couple of them on just kind of in the background. And it definitely, the games are having a low stakes preseason vibe to them, I will say. Like, teams are definitely rusty. They seem to be playing a little bit cautiously. They're throwing a ton of hydration breaks into the games. I don't know if they're all doing it, but a couple of games I've seen so far have had 2 hydration breaks per half. They, of course, have the expanded subs, which seems like it's worked out fine so far. Teams certainly aren't holding on to those subs. They're getting rotation, which is going to be important with the compressed schedule. So, I mean, the entire tournament is a shit show, but it appears at least everybody's settling in, I guess. Do you have any other thoughts relating to the tournament overall as you've seen it play out?
Just that, it seems like for the most part there haven't really been any more positive tests, so I'm very thankful for that, especially in a crew direction. It seems like the bubble is at least somewhat working now that they got Nashville and Dallas out of there. So hopefully that continues to work.
Yeah, I have seen some rumors on the NBA side of things that some people are getting access into the bubble from the outside who probably aren't supposed to. Maybe even some people of the female persuasion, because I guess, players are already getting a little lonely and anxious, and maybe MLS is not yet to the level that, groupies are beating on the side of the hotel trying to get in. So maybe they're benefiting from that.
Yeah, well, you'll have that anytime high-powered people are asked to, do things for other people's benefits. They have to, try to work around the rules. But, that's how it goes.
Okay, well, so let's talk about the crew's first game in the COVID Cup against the Fightin' Fusslads of FC Cincinnati SC. So just as a reminder for those of you who saw the game, or some information if you didn't watch it all, we had your standard 4-2-3-1 lineup. You had, let me pull up my shit here. Okay, of course, Eloy Room in goal. Your back line was Hector Jimenez, Vito Wormhoor, Jonathan Mensah, Harrison Awful, Artur and Nagby as your defensive midfielders, Mokhtar, Selarayan, and Diaz as your attacky boys, and Jossie Zardes up top. We had Caleb Porter using, I believe, all of his subs here, all 5 of them. You had Abubakar Keita come in. Oh, wait. Abubakar Keita came in early because, unfortunately, Vito Wormgoor got hurt in the 17th minute. We had Derek Etienne come on for Selarayan in the 61st minute, along with Chris Cadden replacing Luis Diaz. And then in the 76th and 77th minute, you had 2 debuts for the team. Sebastian Berhalter came on for Artur, and Aiden Morris came on for Darlington Nagby. As far as scoring and all the important things that happened, we had a goal from Selarayan in the 27th minute on an amazing free kick, curled around the wall and off the upright. Your boy Jossie got on the score sheet in the 30th minute, just a couple minutes later, assisted by Mokhtar. Jossie scored again in the second half in the 49th minute, assisted by Selarayan. And then closed out the scoring in the 60th minute. Mokhtar scored with a double assist, the primary coming from Hector, and then the hockey assist coming from Selarayan. So we had 2 players make their senior team appearance debuts. Mokhtar got his first goal, I believe, as a crew member, and Selarayan got his first and second assist as a member of the team. This was a pretty one-sided game. The first 15 minutes or so, the Fusslads were controlling the ball. It seemed like the crew were content to just kind of sit back a little bit. After that, they unleashed on Cincinnati, and it never really looked all that close. 91% passing accuracy, which is just ridiculous. 62% possession for the Crew. 13 shots on goal. It was great if you're a Crew fan and terrible if you're a Cincinnati fan. What were your thoughts on the game, Brent?
I thought it was really good to see the guys come out and be so accurate in their passing and not really look that rusty. Again, with the exception of that first 10, 15 minutes like you talked about where Cincinnati was solidly in control, and it was kind of frustrating. Celerayán was as advertised and exactly what you want from your highest paid signing in team history. Jossie found a way to put stuff in the back of the net, unlike maybe he would have in previous seasons, so I think that's going well. It was a good win. I'm not trying not to get too high on it just because it was Cincinnati, but it was a very solid win that was really fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Jossie had 2 goals on 2 shots, which, I mean, that's literally all you can ask for in that situation. I really was impressed by the aggressiveness from Diaz, who actually led the team with 4 shots. Only one of them was on target, but a couple of his just went just a bit wide. I appreciated the fact that, you know, in times where maybe years past you might have seen a winger pull back and pass the ball around and look for the ideal shot. He's definitely willing to take a shot, even at a not great angle, and force the defenders and the keeper to honor him. I think that was a nice element that he brought. Celerayán, it was nice because not only is he a good distributor, but he's not afraid to take on defenders with the ball at his feet. And we also haven't necessarily had a lot of that lately, that guy who will just dribble his way effectively through traffic. I mean, Justin Merrim thought he was doing that, but he would just dribble into people and turn the ball over. As you said,
all right, Drex, let's calm down.
Yeah, so... Yeah, and you're right. It's Cincinnati, you know, take them with a grain of salt. God, they could just barely eke out a win against what wound up being ultimately a 9-man Atlanta United team earlier today. So they are clearly terrible. But they are still nominally a professional soccer team. So, I mean, if you can take a 4-0 victory away from even the worst team in the league, you've done something right.
Oh, agreed. It was a great game. It was great to see them not choke maybe in the way that the Crew would have in previous years, especially against a team that many people would consider our rival. I'm still not there yet. I refuse to give them that respect. But yeah, this is certainly a game that it seems like in a lot of years past the Crew would have at least not played up to the level that they did and found a way to win it like 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah, well, and that's a good point, that they did not take their foot off the gas at any point in the game. There have been a couple of tournament games, especially the really early ones, where I think, you know, one team scores a goal. God, who was it? There was a game where somebody scored in like the 4th minute, and then basically just parked the bus for the rest of the game. Maybe that was, I don't know if that was Red Bull versus Atlanta or what. But I remember just thinking like, oh, this is terrible. This is 86 minutes of just boring, bunkered soccer. And the Crew were like, nah, we're going for goal differential. It was really gratifying to see that. It's something that I frankly was not expecting. You normally think like 2-goal lead in this kind of situation. Yeah, the team just sort of wants to get out without any injuries, rest of the players, but they kept up the pace. So
yeah, I was surprised and definitely thankful, especially given what Caleb Porter had already said about how, you know, they're not treating every game equally and, you know, they're treating this like Open Cup and all of that. So it was definitely appreciated to see them pour it on a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, and so, of course, speaking of saving your players and not getting anybody injured, as I mentioned earlier, Vito went out in the 17th minute. Not great. He is actually home in Columbus these days. In one of what I think is the more bizarre situations, the media became aware of it because Vito checked in his breakfast at South of Lane the next morning. And so all the media outlets were like, oh, according to his personal Instagram, Vito is back in Columbus now. So this feels a little bit like, I mean, we've seen this before, unfortunately. We bring in, a bruiser of a center back from outside the U.S. and we start seeing this injury situation. And like, obviously injuries happen, but Saro came in, played for a while, started having knee problems. Pogatetz came in, was playing for a while, started having knee problems. I'm not trying to draw a straight line because we have such a small sample size with Vito, but he did miss one game. Was it the second game of the season with a rib injury? And I know it was like 4 months ago on the calendar, which means it's 537 years ago in COVID time, if you're thinking back this far. But are you nervous at all? I mean, that out of 4 games, Vito has been injured twice already?
Was it 4 or was it 3? Because I was thinking there was only 3.
Well, yeah, he missed one game, so he's played in 3 games. And wait, no, we're only at 3 games played total, right?
Yeah, so that's what I thought.
Yeah, so he's played in 2 games and had to leave both early with injuries, and then missed a game in between. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that first game of the season at Mafre, when he went down, it seemed like it was an ankle injury. Like, I know the next game they said it was a rib problem or whatever, but it really looked to me like his ankle was bothering him in Columbus, and it was, if I'm remembering correctly, it was the same leg that he went down on in this game. So both of the games that he's played, he's had a problem with the same ankle. So that's definitely concerning to me. Center back is one of the positions where I'm not going to be overly concerned about some missed time from him for a while. I think Keita has actually shown himself to be very capable. And then we also have Josh Williams waiting in back to take up some minutes if need be. But yeah, definitely a concern to bring this guy in and not be able to have him, because his highlight videos at the very least were very thrilling.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, like you loved his highlight videos, or I mean, he was clearly brought in to be muscle. And that's not really something, I mean, Mensah is a very physical player, but he's not aggressive in that same way. They complement each other very well, and I think that's why we had the pairing that we did. We do technically also have Axel. How do you say his last name? Is it Soberg? Is the J silent?
That's the way I was pronouncing it.
Yeah. Who's loaned out currently to USL, I believe. But, of course, there
was already talk of bringing him back from loan, so we'll see what Porter decides to do there. But, yeah, I think Keita has shown himself in his limited sample size to be capable and to be a young player that I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, he played well enough at the end of last season that you could make the argument whether or not he would be a starter, that there wasn't a need to bring any more depth in. I mean, he established himself at worst to be a good backup player. I was actually a little surprised when they brought Axel in, because it seemed like going 5 deep maybe wasn't the necessary thing, because we had 4 guys who were at least borderline, if not, solid starters. Of course, the fact that we have this injury just shows, what the fuck do I know? I'm co-hosting a podcast and not running a goddamn soccer team. But I don't think I've seen any indication yet of a time frame for Vito, other than the fact that obviously he's done for the tournament because you can't go back into the bubble. So, presumably he'll be missing, if the crew advance in the tournament, probably a couple of weeks he'll have to rest up, which is good, because then there's no pressure. And yeah, now we see, we get to see more Blue Eyes Josh Williams in the lineup potentially. Do you think Booba is the first choice replacement? Does he become the starter tonight?
I would not be surprised either way they go, but I will predict that Bouba Keita is back on the field for tonight, and then Williams will get the start in the next game.
I would not disagree with that. We can talk about that more when we preview the game later. That's what they call a tease in the industry, Brent. Also the industry. Yeah.
It was very well done up until you mispronounced the word industry.
Right. Well, they don't pay me for my brains around here. In fact, they don't pay me at all, and I'm rather disturbed about that. Okay.
Well, you should get a better agent.
I should. Hey, do you want to be my agent? Because you scored yourself a pay raise when you took this new job, so.
Yes, sir, I did. I did very well for myself.
All right. Anything else about the COVID Cup opener for the crew?
I think we pretty much covered it. Well, actually, let's talk about the debuts for Aiden Morris and Sebastian Berhalter. What did you think after they came on? I mean, I know their game time was limited, but in their limited time,
I mean, it wasn't a terrible amount of time. Let me grab the box score here real quick. So they played...
I think they had about 14 minutes.
Okay. I'm not going to lie. At that point, I was solidly in the bag, because we did have the delayed kickoff. It was late. I didn't see any glaring issues. I think they had... I remember a couple solid dribbles. No gaffes on either of their parts. I do realize that, from a distance, if the camera zoomed out and they're playing side by side, I'm not entirely sure which one is which. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I know Caleb said in the post-game press conference that they had both absolutely earned the right to see the field, which I think is a good sign, because, so Caleb was the coach by the time they both signed their homegrown deals, right? He was on board. But they aren't his guys. They didn't come up through his system in an academy that he established. And we know that Caleb has definitely had guys who weren't his guy on the roster who are now no longer on the roster. So I do think it's a good sign that not only is Caleb on board for having these guys, on the 30-man list, but he's also willing to, get them on the field and get them some playing time, because I think one's 18 and one's 19 right now. What they need is some of that playing time, especially games like this where it's sort of pseudo preseason, but there's still real stakes. I feel like that's a good opportunity for a young guy to start, getting up to speed with the professional game. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree with what you said. I didn't see any major issues when they got on. I think there was an opportunity where Sebastian Berhalter probably could have had a shot on goal. He had the ball at the top of the box, and there was a little bit of room there. I would have liked to have seen him take the shot. And
he passed that one off?
He dribbled it and passed it off. But, that's literally one instance. So, and it was his very first professional game. So, yeah, nothing too exciting going on, but nothing really majorly disappointing either. So I think like you said, a solid chance just to come in, get some minutes, and get their feet wet a little bit. Yeah. I was glad to see them get time.
Yeah, and it was good to see. So Chris Cadden got nearly a half hour in the midfield, which we know he was kind of initially maybe brought in as more of a fullback, but it's nice to see, him getting some reps at different positions, because it does feel like he's going to be one of those utility kind of guys like a Hector Jimenez. So yeah, it was there was a lot of positives to take out of a game that was pretty lopsided.
For sure.
So now that we've talked about the past performance, we wanted to take a little bit of time and talk about something off of the field. Many of you probably got the same email that Brent and I did. The front office sent a link to a survey. This would have been probably about a week ago, I think, asking people's thoughts about attending crew games in person this season. It was a pretty decently long survey. Kind of got at like your general level of fandom, but then quickly led into some questions involving different scenarios, like what sort of ways you would feel more comfortable attending games. So they talked about things like, would you feel more comfortable if masks were mandatory, if the concession lines were socially distant, if there's hand sanitizer, if there's medical staff around. They asked some questions about, would you move to other sections in order to maintain social distance? Would you swap out tickets for some games so that you could get more tickets at others? They kind of covered the spectrum. What were your perspectives on that survey?
Yeah, I think it was a really in-depth survey that covered a lot of ground. So, I mean, I'll just kind of dive right in if that's okay with you. Most of my answers were that, I would personally feel a little bit more comfortable at games than probably most people would. And I think at the time that I took this, I was not in Oklahoma. Or maybe I was. I don't remember at this point because, like you said, time has no meaning.
And you've been drinking at the pool.
But that is also true. Yeah, but definitely more comfortable with many of those measures that you just said, like whatever the team can do if and when they're going to open it up for people to come in, whatever they can do to keep people safer in that setting, they absolutely need to do. So having those hand sanitizer stations, cutting the capacity down fairly significantly, making sure that people are wearing masks in the stadium, even if it is outside. I know people are going to throw a fit that they're outside and whatever, but like for real, like this is obviously we're all still aware that this is a dangerous thing, and as we're trying to get on with a sense of normalcy and find a way to enjoy our lives in the middle of it, it's okay to still be cautious, even if you don't think it's necessary.
And I do understand why you would feel safe, because being a perpetual bucket wearer, you are almost always protected physically. You put that bucket over your head and nothing's getting in there.
Yeah, that's why I tell you guys almost every episode, it's for protection only. It's not a fashion bucket, Drabs.
Yeah, I think I probably had similar responses to the survey. I was just like, yes, do all of these things. If this is a thing you're going to pursue, do all of these things. That being said, I still, these kinds of surveys can be tough. As a surveyman myself, Bront, as you know, one of the top lads in the survey game, I do tend to take a critical eye to these things, and I think there's a little bit of manipulation going on, and by leading in essentially with like, how much do you miss games and how big a fan are you? I do think they were kind of prompting people a little bit to give more favorable responses. I will say it's not as bad as Sporting Kansas City. Did you happen to see how they handled their survey?
No, I didn't. What did they do?
Apparently, so they put like a how comfortable would you be attending games thing, and there was like an asterisk, and basically if you said you weren't comfortable, they were going to remove you from the lottery to determine who gets to go to games. So like that should have been an opinion question, and instead it was a question that had consequences, where if you jump on the survey and you're like, oh wait, if I say no to this, you mean there's like no chance I could go to games? I mean, nobody knows what the world is going to look like in 2 months. It's probably going to be on fire, but there's a chance that like maybe things will get better and things are feasible in September, October. Who knows? We don't know. So to ask your fan base, like, how do you feel right now? And by the way, if you say no, you're just not coming to games. That's a dick move. It really is.
Yeah, that's a rough one, and definitely like, it just feels very MLS to me.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Yeah. I know that, they all want to try and squeeze a little gate revenue. Oh my God, turn your vibrator off. That thing is just ridiculous. I mean, I know, you've been out in Oklahoma for a while. You haven't gotten to hang out with your friends, but, just make sure you keep charging that vibrator, because you don't want it to die on you in a critical moment.
That's good advice. I'll try to keep that in mind, Traps. No, that was an alarm, because I forgot that there was, like, I always forget about the time difference when I'm trying to plan things with people back home. So I was
your alarm to do the podcast 45 minutes ago.
Yeah, so that was 6:45 here, so that I could like do a couple things before 7.
Oh, so when I said let's do the podcast at 7, your brain was on 7 your stupid Oklahoma time. I see.
Because I forget that it's different.
To be fair, I also literally forgot that you were in a different time zone. I was just like, 7. It's fine. It's what we always do. So, yeah. You're right. It's a very MLS-y feel to it, and I think the league has to be careful in this context, because if you do this wrong, if you wind up like getting some fans sick because you've sort of manipulated them into attending games when the comfort level isn't there or the safety level isn't there, I mean, that's a PR disaster. If you ever find out like, oh, some 60-year-old went to an LAFC game, caught the Rona, and died 2 weeks later, like that is not a good look for your league and your sport.
Oh, for sure. That's it seems like one of the PR disasters that MLS has kind of been able to hide from. But there's just no way that, like they have in the past, that they could do that again. At least I don't think.
Yeah, I'm not going to go so far as to say it would be a death blow or anything, but it would take a long-ass time to recover from something like that. I mean, you see the horror stories where it's like, oh yeah, somebody went to a bar and they infected 16 of their friends, or the person who got on an elevator and infected 71 people within the space of 60 seconds. Like, the shit is still terrifying. And, as I was filling out that survey and thinking about, like, the social distancing, you're right. People are going to come in and they're not going to want to wear masks. And, you're putting your hands on stuff. The first person who takes their mask down and coughs and then, like, grabs the drinking fountain or the handle on the bathroom stall. And the next thing you know, then 10 people touch that same thing and you've got a shit show. I mean, it's a big stadium. How do you effectively sanitize an entire stadium during a time period when people are in it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I do remember, at least I think I remember, I might be making it up, but I think there was one of the scenarios was like, would it make you feel better if there was a person in every bathroom, like, cleaning it right after it's being used? So, I mean, they are thinking about it. At least it seems like, trying to cover all of their bases. Sure.
Although then I hope they're paying that poor person a metric fuck ton of money. Could you imagine being like the COVID cleaner in like the bathrooms with a bunch of drunken assholes? That's the other thing is, you go to a game, it's not like people are going to sit quietly. They're going to yell. They're going to shout. They're going to high five people. Like, this is soccer, and sports fandom is functionally a social thing. So if everybody's sitting 6 feet apart, are they really not going to run over and high five someone? Are they going to wear their masks as they're chanting in the Nordeck? There's going to be at least some assholes who aren't going to follow the rules once they get in. But I don't know. I guess this is exactly why John's not here tonight, because there's a lot of potential for things to go wrong. I think as soon as you start bringing people into the stands, what would you feel about empty game stadiums or empty stadium games at this point?
It almost feels like if you insist on having a season, that would probably be the best option. Especially with the way several states are spiking again, seeing even higher numbers than they did the first time around. I know my answers probably have personally changed a little bit since I took that survey. And my degree of comfortability would be down a little, seeing what's happening in Florida and Arizona and Texas and even Ohio a little bit. But I also really dislike the idea of – no, you're good. Really dislike the idea of professional sporting events being played without fans. It's bizarre to me when the whole purpose is like for people to be there and watch their spectator sports. But I would also like to continue to have these things on TV. So I don't know. I would have a really hard time making up my mind if I had to like vote yay or nay on it. Not that I ever will, but
One thing I will say is really cool about the empty games and watching them on TV is hearing the players and the coaches. And apart from all of the fucking F-bombs that get, past the tape delay and stuff, I do appreciate hearing, the communication between the players, the instruction from the coaches, the reactions of the players themselves to sort of what's going on in the field. That it's an unintended benefit, but it's kind of cool. I definitely would much rather have that than artificial canned fan noise where somebody's hitting a button to make people cheer.
Oh, for sure. That was so uncomfortable, and I was really disappointed going back to the first Crew game. Like, I thought MLS said that none of their coverage would have the fake noise, and then it turned the game on, and it was fake noise the entire time. It's like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah, I have no idea what their thought process is and when they've decided to do it or not do it or whatever. But yeah, no, it's cool to get the, just the cleaner, purer, oh, this is what's actually going on in the field. Yeah, so if there's one unintentional benefit to all of this, I would say that's at least it. All right. Any other final thoughts on the survey and or the prospect of attending games in person at some point this season?
No. I think we pretty much covered everything there was.
We beat it into the ground. Okay. So now let's talk about this segment that we still don't have an actual name for, even though we've been doing it for several episodes now. This would be our crew superlatives, for lack of a better term. The thing where we have a question each episode relating to crew players. So this week's crew superlative question comes to you from me, because I thought something up at the last minute. And this one actually is in honor of Vito, who, again, is back in Columbus. But even before he left for the bubble down in Florida, it seemed like he was spending a lot of time at Zoombezi Bay with his family. The fella's got a wife and 4 daughters, so obviously a water park is a great option then. And it seemed as though they were doing a good job of being distant from anyone else who was there. So this week's question is, what player would you spend the day at Zoombezi Bay with, Brent?
Drabs, would you like to go first on this?
Oh, I should have known that you were going to throw this to me first, even though I totally let you know in advance what was going on.
Yeah,
Shit.
all 1 minute of advance notice.
I mean, the lazy, easy response is Josh Williams, right? Because all you want to do is have that guy take his shirt off and just gaze longingly into his eyes for hours at a time. But I'll leave that, that spank bank fodder for GCG bag. And instead, I think I'll actually go with Chris Cadden. I feel like, well, for one thing, that dude is going to need some all kind of sunblock if he goes to the water park, because he is pasty. But I'm just so fascinated with his accent and the way that he speaks that I would spend a day with him anywhere. Like if it was running a garbage truck and picking up people's trash all day, I'd be like, yeah, Chris Cadden, because I'm just going to listen to him talk and it's going to amuse the shit out of me. So yeah, that's going to be my choice. So what about you?
Real quick, how old is Chris Cadden again?
He is 23 years old.
All right, that's what I thought. So I was kind of, like, when I was trying to come up with something, I was kind of thinking him just because I was like, yeah, he's like the closest, probably the closest person on the team to my age. And as far as I know, he's not married, doesn't have any kids. Like, I was trying to think of those kind of guys that aren't going to, like, be at a water park with their family.
Oh,
like,
you don't want annoying fucking kids around. I see. I got you.
Yeah, like, who's going to be there to, like, be really fucking stupid and just have, like, a really good time? So I might have to go with one of the younger guys that just made their debut. Aiden Morris seems like he might be the kind of guy that just likes to get a little crazy from time to time. So let's see how that would go. And I would pick Aiden Morris.
Perfect. Yeah, I do think that, unfortunately, Vito and probably Jossie are the last people, because between the two of them, they have 9,000 children. I believe they're all very young children. So you are constantly just, I mean, those pools are going to be so full of child piss, you just don't even want to be near them. Oh, yeah.
Doesn't Pedro also have, like, 3 kids?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's like the grizzled veterans who have 1 million kids, and then there's a bunch of 18-year-olds who are like, what? Let's party. Do they have
Right.
alcohol at Zoombezi Bay? Can you drink there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. They have it at the zoo, don't they?
Yeah, I think so, at least in some places. Does
Yeah.
that change your answer at all then? Because Aiden's not going to be allowed to drink legally.
I mean, the only other person that I would probably pick would be Cadden. I was just trying to go a different direction there. Let's see. Who else is...
Milton is just 21, so you could get him his early drinking times.
Yeah, that's fair. That could actually be pretty fun, too. Yeah,
Jordan
Milton would
Hamilton's
be
only 24.
Is he really? Okay. I really thought he was older than that.
I know, he looks 50.
Yeah.
Diaz is 21, Etienne's 23, Artur's only 24.
Oh, yeah. Dude, fuck what I said. I'm taking Luis Diaz. Holy shit, that would be... I don't know. I just feel like that would probably be a really good time.
Probably. He's the kind of guy that if you go drinking with him, I bet there's at least a 20% chance somebody gets winds up in the back of a squad car for at least a half hour. That's how you know.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. It's going to get a little crazy. Somebody's going to call the cops. Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's talk about some man balls for this week. Over the past several episodes, we've been giving man balls out into like society and each other and shit, and now we actually have soccer results that we can base them on. Of course, I mean, you can still give them to Amy Acton if you want, and you probably should out there if you're listening. Go to Amy Acton's house and give her your proverbial, not literal, man balls, because even though she has resigned as the head of the Ohio Department of Health, she did a lot of good stuff, and she got done wrong. So, but anyway, Brent, your man balls, what you got?
All right, real quick, I'm just going to give a call to our lawyer friend, just because you just told some people to go to a woman's house and give her man balls. Make sure he's ready to go.
The law offices of Brian Jones.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Jesus, Drabs. Let's see, man balls this week. Lucas Celerion, that shot was amazing. Definitely looking forward to having a guy that can continually do that. But even more than that, that pass to Jossie was just like a laser that he put in the exact right spot for Jossie to put it in. So just all around really excited to see this guy continue on in black and gold. Second man ball. I'm going to give my second man ball to Yunus Mokhtar. It's probably the best game I've seen him play in a Crew jersey. And I don't know that if Pedro had been on the field that we would have seen anything any better than that. I felt really impressed with Yunus in this game.
Yeah, I agree. And in fact, my man balls are exactly the same. I should probably spread my man ball love among the masses like I do, I mean, I'm really a man ball spreader. But
yeah,
those
we've
two
asked
guys,
you to stop doing that.
I know, but I don't want to, so I'm not gonna. You're right. Zelarayan, he had the goal, he had the assist, he had the hockey assist. He was dribbling all over the place. I mean, he was a revelation. He was fantastic. And yes, Yunus played all 90 minutes, just putting in that hard work. So we have a pretty small sample size with him. He's only played in, I think, 11 games now. But he got a goal and an assist in this game. His pass to Jossie was also fantastic. Hit him right in stride, right at the right time. So yeah, just based on this performance, I definitely want to see him getting more opportunities. I think he's got some great vision. And I think, I did a little Pedro hating online. I think this game flowed so much better because Pedro wasn't in it just falling down. And these guys were all in it to move the ball, move around, and make things happen. And Eunice was one of those guys who it seemed like he had good vision. He had good awareness of where he needed to be. I really liked what I saw from him. So yeah, double man balls to Lucas and Eunice.
Yeah, I will point out, though, somebody made a really good point on Twitter the other day that, you take Celarion's ability to put those free kicks in like that and couple that with Pedro's ability to fall down, that could be a pretty dangerous thing for the crew. So might need Pedro on that.
I don't want that, though. I understand that's a part of the game, but it's the shittiest part of the game.
Yeah, it really is.
And frankly, we scored 4 goals without somebody falling down. That's a sign you don't need that bullshit in the current setup. So incidentally, if we give Eunice 2 man balls, I believe that officially makes it a weenus. The audience is going to love that one. Oh my God. If we had drops, if we had anything at all right now other than our sad selves staring at computer monitors in our homes, it'd be so great.
If we had drops, I would have been playing the cricket drabs.
You son of a bitch.
That was a Nate Beckman style joke right there.
Yeah, it was. The great thing, though, since I'm doing the audio editing, I can go in after the fact and I can put in all kinds of applause for all of my really hilarious statements. So tune in to find out if that happens. It's not going to because I'm lazy. Oh, all right. So thanks for the man balls, Brent. I appreciate it very much. You want to talk about the game coming up tonight? So this is
let's do it.
Yeah, this is a weird situation for us. Right now it is 8 o'clock Eastern time. And the crew
7 o'clock Central.
Yeah, 7 o'clock Central, where Brent is. I would have assumed Oklahoma was at least Mountain Time, but it shows what I know. So the game is going to start in 2.5 hours? It's a 10:30 game, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So by the time literally anybody other than us hears this game preview, the game will be over, and you'll just get to hear how bad we are at predicting what's going to happen. So Crew versus Red Bull tonight. Red Bull will be minus a player, I believe. Or wait, no, is that an Atlanta player? That's an Atlanta player. I'm already getting my things mixed up. Or no, is that?
It was Atlanta. Atlanta was down to 9 men against Cincy. So when we play Atlanta, they will be down 2 guys.
Okay. So New York will be at full strength then. I already don't know what I'm talking about. This is why I don't do show prep. So thus far, Red Bull are also, they have 3 points in the standings, courtesy of a 1-0 win over Atlanta. They, like us, have, of course, only played 1 game so far. This is one of the games that I managed to watch some of it. And I think Red Bull did a really good job against Atlanta, and it was a full-sided Atlanta in their first game. Red Bull, to me, looked the more aggressive of the 2 teams. They had a 1-0 win, but it probably could. They could have had 2 or 3 goals pretty easily in that game. They're now in the post-Bradley Wright-Phillips era, but they still seem offensive enough to be dangerous. I don't think this is going to be an easy game, and although maybe not a lot of people would have expected it, at this point, they, along with Columbus, are the team to beat in this group. Did you get to watch any of their previous game?
I saw a little bit at the very end. So the deal was I have to be at work at 1:30 a.m., so what I did was just go to bed so that I could get up and watch the game before I went in. So I caught the tail end of that.
Okay. So why don't you just smoke meth like apparently everybody in Muskogee does, so you can stay up and watch all these games? I feel like if you were a true Crew fan, you would be doing so much meth right now. How dare you?
Drabs, it's so prevalent that it would be really easy. But I'm just trying really hard not to fall back into old habits.
That's true. Okay, well, as long as you stick with heroin, I'm sure you'll be fine.
Well, that's a given.
Yeah. So, okay, so we talked a little bit. So you're of who? Remind me, who do you think is going to be starting at center back alongside Mensah? Or will Mensah be in the starting lineup also? Because there is rotation.
I think we will. Yeah, it is. I think John will still be on the field, and I think he will be playing with Bouba Keita. And then I think Keita will be rotated out for the game against Atlanta. We'll see Josh Williams step in for that game.
Okay. Why do you think that's the setup?
I just
do you think Williams is better suited against Atlanta, or?
I think there's a couple of things going on there. One, I think Keita came in and did really well against, again, I know it was Cincinnati, but I think he looked really good in his time on the field. And Porter is a guy that likes to show the younger players when they do well by giving them minutes. So I think we'll see a little bit of that. And then I also think that Keita has shown an ability to find those pinpoint long ball passes from the back that could be really useful against New York's style of play.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I do also think Atlanta, even though by the time we play Atlanta, it may be a meaningless game. Atlanta currently has 0 points after 2 games. Assuming Cincinnati doesn't get another result against Red Bull, which is very. Oh wait, who are they? Who's Cincinnati playing last? Is it
Red Bull?
It must be Red Bull. Yeah. Oh yeah, because we're playing Atlanta. Stupid group stage. Yeah, like I don't know if Cincinnati even manages to get a point from Red Bull, which would leave them basically at 3 points. So if the Crew can get any result in either of these next 2 games, they're probably good. And if they get a win, obviously they're great then. I do think like Josh as the savvy vet might work a little better against Atlanta, even with their reduced firepower. I mean, they're still always a threat. And, Bouba's, he's still a little young. He's still a little raw. And maybe you go with the veteran presence in the context against Atlanta just to close things out. What do you expect from the game overall? I admit, like, I'm not super familiar yet with how Red Bull are playing in all of this, because I feel like they were kind of sitting back against Atlanta as it was. So I don't have a great feel for their play. They've, they had a lot of turnover this season, bringing in younger faces. They seem to be going a little more like the old Sporting Kansas City route, where it's like find quality players but don't necessarily break the bank. And I know they've been pulling from their academy a lot in kind of building up their system. So, like, for me, I don't expect this to be an explosive game. I think it's probably going to be a little more calculated on both sides. I think as you're getting the congested schedule, because they play tonight and then they play again on Tuesday, with the player rotation, with trying to keep legs fresh, trying to avoid injuries, I don't see either team really going all out for this game.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's an interesting situation where it's not like a straight up regular season game. It's also not a super important tournament game, but it does have consequences. So I'm not sure what New York's strategy will be. I know Caleb has already said that they're not going to treat every game the same way. So I'm not even sure like what to expect from the Crew. but I know that Red Bull is still their high press, that type of offense and defensive game that is, I don't know. At some points it seems to really bother the Crew, and then some points it seems like we pick them apart kind of easily. So I'm not sure. I guess I'm just really not sure what to make of that. I also think that the way they played against Atlanta was maybe a little bit too respectful of Atlanta, where they were treating them like the Atlanta of last year or 2 years ago, and they were just trying to.
Martinez was on the field.
Yeah, like they were just trying to escape with their point rather than keep the pressure on when they probably could have easily dominated that Atlanta team. So I wouldn't expect them. I don't know. I'm not expecting them to look as defensive as they did against Atlanta.
I guess, yeah, you make a good point that historically Columbus has struggled against the high press of Red Bull, especially the Berhalter era Crew. That seemed as though it was the one nut he couldn't manage to crack with any regularity. And I don't know if, Porter's system will be any better for that, or maybe even just, having maybe some younger, fresher players, because we have had a bit of a youth movement. If that'll be better for helping, guys who are able to get up and down the field a little better. It'll be an interesting game. I do think I fully expect to see Valenzuela and Pedro in this game, since they did not play at all the first time. I'm assuming that their absence from the 18 was purely rotation, right? Like if you have guys who didn't show up at all in one game, they're for sure going to be playing in the other two. And probably, I would guess, anybody who played 90 minutes. I don't think Jossie starts. I think you probably see Adi starting up top. Maybe Chris Cadden gets the start instead of Harrison Awful. So I do think, there were 5 players who played 90 minutes. So that was Awful, Jimenez, Mensah, Mokhtar, Zardes. You probably see Mensah for 90 minutes. Center backs, they can be a little looser with the 90 minutes because they're not running as much necessarily. But I do think even Mensah probably only starts 2 of these 3 games. I would guess he probably starts tonight, but then not the final game. Just because at that point, I don't even know if the team will be playing for anything in that third game, depending on how the points lay out. So I do definitely think they play for a result here. I think it's more cautious. I think it's a little more down tempo than the game against Cincinnati. But I think they do. I think they still have something to prove and something to run off of. After you have a 4-0 win, you want to keep going with that momentum. So I certainly hope that for at least a half, they're really playing with their foot on the gas. I guess we should actually do a score prediction, shouldn't we? So what do you got? Or do you need some time to think and I can just make up some bullshit until you're ready?
No, I'm good. I'm going to be a little bit optimistic in this game. I know that you just rattled off like a bunch of likely different starters. So maybe that makes my score prediction that I had come up with irrelevant if your predicted starting 11 comes to fruition. But I was leaning toward a 2-1 Crew victory today. If Jossie is out, I don't know. I might have said something different. But I'll stick with that 2-1. We'll say 2-1 Crew.
That's funny because I was thinking the same thing. I was like, on the surface, I want to say 2-1, but if Jossie doesn't start, I think that that chemistry. And if there's, I mean, just rotation in general, I think the chemistry could be lacking. And I do think there'll be rotation. Jossie, I mean, if he starts, maybe he plays a half. So shit. I don't want to predict a tie because you can't predict a tie after 4-0. You just can't. There's no way. All right, I'll go 1-0. So I don't know that New York has a lot of firepower. Maybe we play defense well enough to shut them out and then just sneak a goal in at some point. Who would your goal scorers be for tonight?
I'm going to say Luis Diaz gets on the sheet, and then Lucas Celerayán.
Okay. For me, you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm going to say that Artur scores a goal. I think he has a lot more freedom in this system to get forward and be a part of the offense. He had at least one shot in this game. He actually had 2 shots in the game. I feel like at some point he's going to manage to sneak in, like maybe get a ball, a bad touch off a defender or something, and he manages to snag it and take a shot. So I'm going to go with Artur. It's a non-traditional pick, but what the fuck? It's not like we're experts or anything.
Speak for yourself, Darby.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you are an expert mask licker, which translates directly into soccer knowledge. That's right.
Darby,
yes.
You know very well that I am an expert in soccer.
If you were an expert in soccer, you'd be down in Austin right now, where all the experts in soccer are.
Oh, so can we talk about that real quick? Let's talk about that. I mean, what do you think? Were they trying to troll us with that picture? Is that what that was?
Okay, yes. So for context, for anybody who hasn't seen it, a couple of days ago, Austin FC released, they had some like updated renderings of their beer hall and their merch shop, because apparently that's a thing that people care about when they want to see stadium porn. Fucking idiots.
Right.
And so in their mostly empty rendering of a beer hall, which is really a weird concept, like they put these little shadow people in them, but there were like 10 people in this entire gigantic beer hall. They had TVs on in the background, and if you zoomed in, you could see that it was an image of what's his nuts scoring a goal from FC Cincinnati against the Crew in the Open Cup from 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, whatever. So like as some sort of probably weird kind of flex, they decided that when they're doing renderings of their beer hall, it's not even going to be showing their own team. They were showing the Crew losing in an Open Cup game.
To be fair, it's because they don't have a team yet, so...
Right. They don't have jerseys, so you can't put your own designs, I suppose, on the television. But yeah, it's just another example of us living rent-free in their heads to this day. And as a number of people pointed out, that was an Anthony Precourt-owned team that lost that Open Cup game. So he's really dunking on himself.
I just don't understand how they continue to be so fucking bad at everything they do. It's hilarious.
Well, I think they're pandering to their, shithole base that wanted to take a team away from another city and who really thrived in our misfortune and our struggles. And so those are going to be their fuckboy base that's going to overpay for beers in their stadium. So they were giving him some more masturbation material. But it comes across as kind of pathetic. It
really does. Like, oh, here's a picture from a game 3 years ago wherein we failed to put an adequate team on the field, and now we're going to be the same people in control of your team. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you people?
Yeah, so also by the time that beer hall actually exists, which is in another year, are they saying that they're going to have a collection of sad sack fans getting drunk in the middle of a day watching reruns of Open Cup games? Like, is that what you're going for?
Yeah. It was really bizarre. It was kind of entertaining, I'm not going to lie. I needed that the other day. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, basically anytime they do something, it's like, oh, here's another example of how stupid the people in charge are. But yeah, it just, and I remember, like, I saw the picture before people had really picked up on the commentary, and so I zoomed in, and of course you recognize it instantly because it's the yellow and black combo kits for the crew, which we basically only wear in the Open Cup. So yeah, it just, they probably thought they were being clever and subtle about it, and it's like, no, you're just being Austin, I guess. But yeah, that was, we're releasing like really cool shit and looking forward, and they're still crew stuck. Way to go, edgelords! You're gonna fit right in with some of the newer fans in MLS. Congratulations,
Orlando 2.0.
Yeah, but it's like Orlando 1.1 even. It's not like they've reinvented that cringe significantly from Orlando, and Orlando has at least grown up by now. I have enjoyed it. Incidentally, I've been listening to the Sam's Army podcast when I'm out walking around in the neighborhood, and I just got done listening to the Justin Miram one. Him talking shit about Orlando fans is so fantastic. I enjoyed that so much. Not quite as much as I enjoyed the story about him going down to Tijuana and getting hair plugs, but the Orlando fan stories were pretty great too.
Well, all of his stories are pretty great because he might be the greatest player the crew has ever seen, Drebs.
That is a statement that you are allowed by law to make without the government telling you can't do it. And that's about all I can say about that. Bro. Also, if you listen to anything where Justin Miram talks, bro has to be a part of every sentence. I did not realize he grew up with Frankie Hayduck hitting the waves out in California, but apparently he's a surfer boy. You just didn't even know. Yeah.
But you don't talk like that, bro?
Bro, listen, bro. You like straight fire. Just fucking lasers, man. Oh, it was epic. You don't even fucking know, man. Oh, bro, I mean, dude, bro.
It's for sure an Ohio thing, bro, so I'm not sure why you don't have it, bro. Maybe it's just because you're a million years old, bro.
I remember when the surfer culture was invented. Thank you very much. I was there for it. The Beach Boys, I remember them when they were the Beach Babies. Oh, yeah. Anyway, haha, Darby's old. All right. We've clearly run out of meaningful things to talk about at this point. You got anything else, my friend?
We could continue to talk about your age.
Okay. What would you like to talk about my age? I am old.
I mean, you are old. What were some of the other things that you were there for the invention of? Like, were you around when the pencil was created? What year was that? And what do you remember about it?
I remember looking at it and going, oh, this is going to spawn so many dick jokes someday. Let's see. I was not there for your birth, but I was definitely there for the conception. The audience is definitely going to love that one. No, I didn't think so either. I don't know. It's like 5 billion degrees upstairs up here because I turned the air conditioning off so it wouldn't be too noisy. And basically my brain is just melting at this point. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this seems like a bad idea.
Yeah.
It's currently a cool 63 degrees in my hotel room.
Oh, you son of a bitch. It's
fantastic.
Let's see. Here, hang on. I'll turn on my air conditioning and we'll see what temperature. And 75. It's probably going to be more than 75 by the time it's done. Yeah. Anyway, nobody listening is going to care at all about this conversation. So,
well, nobody listening is going to care anything about any of the conversation that we've had. So,
that's very true. Yes. Yeah. Can confirm. Okay. So, now Brent and I haven't talked at all about like, are we going to do an episode next week? I don't know. We could, because we haven't discussed it. So we didn't tell anybody there was going to be an episode this week. So it's all going to be one big surprise, just like everything in life right now, where you wake up in the morning and you wonder what fresh hell is going to be on your doorstep. Some of that fresh hell might include podcast episodes. But you know, we'll talk off the air. We'll figure out what we might want to do, and we'll talk to all you shitlords later. But in the meantime, be safe. Wear a fucking mask whenever you go out in the world.
Or don't. That's your right. Nobody can tell you
Shut
to
up,
do
Brent.
that.
Nobody. Wait. Let me see if I can figure out how to mute you. I wonder if that's a thing. Can I do that? Oh, I have more admin privileges now on our Discord, so I can actually disconnect you, kick you out, or ban you. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, this is fantastic. Thank you, John, for giving me this immense power. Oh, I can probably mute you too. Here, hang on. Oh, yeah, look, I can mute you just like that. Oh, and you can't do anything about it. Brent, I would like to take a minute to just let you know that I appreciate the things you said to me off the air and how much you love and respect me, how much you look up to me as a role model, and how much you regret all of the old jokes and the horse jokes and all of the other things that you've said to me over the years. Your love is appreciated. You know, I do consider myself a role model to the youth. So you being among the bucket-headed youth, it's only natural that you would look to me as a hero and engage in a kind of worship of me, in fact. So thank you for that. Anything else you want to add?
I don't know. Did you unmute me yet?
Hi. Yes. Yeah. You're back.
All I got from that was you saying something about you being obsessed with youth, and I gotta say it made me a little bit uncomfortable, Drabs.
Well, let's see that. There's the mute again. So Brent just said to me he apologizes for that erroneous statement. He meant nothing by it. In fact, he misspoke, and he says that I only have normal, healthy attractions and relationships with other consenting adult human beings. And so thank you for clearing the air about that topic. Right, Brent? Yeah, right. You're back.
Are you considering horses adult human beings?
Yeah. That's okay. We're going to edit that out in post. Nobody will hear the thing that Brent just said. There will be dead air. In fact, maybe there'll be like a female robot voice talking over where he was talking, saying further nice things about me. So I appreciate everything that you're doing right now, Brent.
Yeah, well, you already told the audience that you're too lazy to do any editing, so...
I did, that's true. I mean, I want to, but also there's a game in like 2 hours, so I gotta do all that stupid shit so it's ready to drop for all those buttholes who want to listen to an episode at 6 o'clock in the morning. All like 2 people who got mad when it, oh no, it didn't show up until 8. But anyway, yeah, so... That's it. We might be back next week. We'll talk. We'll figure it out. Yeah. So until then, stay safe. Wear your masks, despite what Brent said earlier. Be socially distant if you go out and support bars and that sort of thing. We know like our friends at Endeavor and Land Grant and everybody, they're trying to do the best they can to provide safe environments. But also do watch parties at home. Join that weird virtual fan experience that the team does. Find some friends and do a Zoom watch party. find ways to keep connecting with other fans and keep engaged, because we all still need that connection and we all still need each other, but we need to do it in safe and responsible ways so that someday we can all be in the same goddamn stadium together. All right. Any final thoughts from you, my friend?
Yeah, just stay safe, stay healthy, guys. Really miss all of you. Hopefully we can all get together soon, like in the next couple of months. Let's get this thing knocked out.
Yeah, absolutely. And we miss having you here. In all seriousness, do you know at this point how long you're going to be out there?
I do not. I will probably ride this out as long as this program is ongoing, which the publicly available information that I have access to, I don't know of anything different than this, is that this program goes through September. So it'll probably be at least that.
Okay, so a couple more months. Yeah, well, yeah. Stay safe out there yourself. Watch out for the meth heads and the pool party crashers. And I think Steps FC is living somewhere out there in Oklahoma too. I think
he's Nebraska.
Tulsa? Oh, fuck. I don't know, they're all the same. Once you get out there, it doesn't matter. It could be Montana, it could be Nebraska, whatever. They're all identical. It's fine. They're just not Columbus.
No, that's not. It's not accurate.
Yeah, Columbus is not only the greatest team the world has ever seen, but it's the greatest city the world has ever seen, and I won't hear otherwise. So, all right. Yeah, let's do that. We can do that whisper thing, because as you know, all of Lord Guillermo's people said, "I don't know what to whisper right now." Oh, how dare you!